first of all, I want to begin this with a couple statements before I actually get into reading the fanfic. I keep calling it a fanfic, but it isn't one because it isn't based off of anything that existed already. But before I start reading it, first of all, I want to explain kind of the origins of this. Bargo the Bikdip was posted just kind of back and forth between my friend Harrison and I. He would do all the odd number chapters, I would do all the even ones. It was posted on a message board called the Ultimate Board of Cool Stuff. I want to say a bit over 10 years ago. I was in junior high / freshman year of high school when we did this. So it's not really an excuse for the shittiness of it, because I should have been able to do better writing at that point, but I didn't. It was mainly just because we didn't really give a crap. And basically this whole thing went, it just went up, alternating chapters between the two of us, without any freaking person reading it. I think there was one person that actually did comment on it at one point, and oh, is it not up? I assume I can be heard. It seems to be okay. Anyway, because yeah, you're not seeing anything right now. Yeah, I'll be showing I'll be pulling open the actual like the story in a minute here. Anyway, there was like one person that did actually reply to the story once. They will actually be in the fanfic at some point, so that'll be it'll make sense eventually. Don't ask right now. But basically, we had very little feedback, and we just kind of wrote this story thinking that it was hilarious, but nobody really understood what the hell it was. And it was just kind of an inside joke for a while. And I have read through quite a few chapters of this back in Fire Red Omega, but I'm going to be starting from the beginning anyway, because why not? Honestly, you don't really need much more backstory. If I think of something, I'll bring it up later. I might be taking like pauses between chapters, and when I say chapters, I mean like paragraphs, because they're really freaking short. But anyway, the only other thing I want to say, basically, is I want to apologize in advance for Pokemaster Ian, because his character is that he is very, very gay. However, I have to explain a couple things here, because keep in mind, I was young. I didn't really know what it meant to be gay. I was kind of in this age where being perverted and being gay were kind of synonymous. So, like, I actually knew this person who was very obviously straight, but he was kind of a pervert, and so everybody called him gay. And so that's kind of where this is coming from. Like, obviously I don't mean any insult towards homosexuals by this, but I feel like this needs to be said because holy shit, this character is, like, incredibly offensive. So, anyway, let's get started here. I'm going to be just kind of reading through it, spelling errors and all, and if I ever have something to say that isn't in the text, then I will read it out. So here we go. Hopefully this will be showing up on screen properly. I have it centered and everything. At least it should be. Let me just double check here. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay. So, Bargo the Bikdip, Chapter 1. Bargo wakes up in a large field. He glances around to see the grass stretching for miles, slowly rippling in the wind. He feels groggy and injured. He notices the bruises all over him, but he cannot remember what they are from. In fact, he cannot remember anything at all, other than a vague face half in shadow. He feels well enough to get up. He does so slowly, wincing from pain. He looks out, and there seems to be nothing but field for as far as he can see. He starts to walk. It takes him 5 days to reach anything of importance, but all it is a country dirt road. He decides that since the grass will probably never end, he will take the road. He travels on it for 2 weeks, occasionally taking a random pick of a side in a fork in the road. He finally reaches something resembling civilization. It's a dilapidated old farmhouse by a pen with some circus dogs and kibs. He heads to the door and knocks. A small panel in the middle of the door opens and the barrels of a shotgun come out. After a minute, they're taken back in and a head pokes out. It looks around to see what made the noise, and finally sees Bargo on the step. He jumps a little. "What the Pokemaster Ian are you?" There was too much dirt in his throat to respond. Well, you better come in, then, the old farmer says. He closes the panel and opens the door. He picks up Bargo and carefully takes him inside, then places him on the soft couch with a blanket over him. We'll need to get you washed up sometime, but you rest now, you hear? He says. Bargo nods, but immediately falls to sleep. It doesn't say it here, but this is the end of Chapter 1. So this was what Harrison started out with. This was the start of a fanfic. It had a typo in it, but... I keep saying fanfic. That's not the correct term, but you know what I mean. There's a typo in it, and it isn't great, but hey, at least it had some promise. This is where I ruined it, because here's my chapter. As you can see, it's much shorter, and it's very stupid. In about 2 years, Bargo finally woke up. With a thanks, he left the house and went on adventure. Through the crowd of kibs and circus dogs, of some now evolved into circus dog on balls and Kirby's, he went. When he was about 15 miles away, he said, "Oh crap, I forgot my tooth." Then a Steigo came roaring out of the ground with a package. He browned, well, I was getting sick of the word, said, "Hello, my name is Steigo and I'd like to come with you." Bargo said, "Hey, what's in the package?" The Steigo responded after about an hour with, "I don't know." Bargo said that Steigo needed to talk slower, and he said, "Okay, well." Then Green Lantern updated it. Don't ask too much of me. Green Lantern was his username, if that was not clear. I'm going to have to be checking on the chat every once in a while here, so. Kib actually should be in the strange creature list. If you go to the one that, like, the Imgur link links to. Anyway, I need to also point out that, at this point, there was a difference between circus dog and circus dog on a ball. That was no longer the case after we, like, came up with the list of stuff. But anyway. Okay, going on. Chapter 3. So Bikdip, with his friend Steigo with a package, started his journey. They both finally reached Town City. A Schmiggenhiggen was at the border to greet them, but it just stood there with its mouth open, so they went on. Suddenly, a carbo cookie fell on Steigo's head, and it evolved into a Castokaiji, a cross between a Steigo and a carbo cookie. And it is still holding the parcel. Bargo rolls around for no apparent reason, so they go to a soup kitchen. That actually was the end of Chapter 3. At least as far as I remember, because I'm pretty sure I wrote this one. So anyway, Chapter 4. In the soup kitchen, another carbo cookie fell on Castokaiji's head and devolved him back into a Steigo, so I don't have to type that anymore. Yay. Now that is settled, let me please introduce the characters. Bargo is a Bikdip, the final evolution of Bargo. For some reason, its name in this story is its first form. Ask Green Lantern. It is a round thing with 3 eyes. Best freaking description ever. Steigo is a stick figure bending over to its right side extremely far. It is the evolution of Arbo, and it evolves into Hadhad. Kib is the first in the chain of Kib, Kirby, Kibbo, Kobandu. It is a badly drawn Kirby-like thing. Circus Dog is, well, a circus dog. When it evolves, it is standing on a ball, and its final evolution is Pokemaster Ian, which I have never seen a picture of. Schmiggenhiggen is too strange to be described. It is a weird head thing with one eye that looks like this, left parenthesis plus right parenthesis. It has a tail resembling that of a polywags. Carbo cookies are cookies with lots of carbohydrates in them. Castokaiji is some combination of Steigo and a carbo cookie, don't ask me. Now, on to the story. In the soup kitchen, there was soup. Nothing exciting happened. Suddenly, a group of robbers burst into the kitchen. They danced, ate some toast, and then left. In a few seconds, they came back and stole all the soup. They then ran off with it. "Helpa, helpa!" A cook with a fake Italian accent came in. "Hi, you little characters of this fic, they stole my soup. Can you get to them?" Steigo grew 3 times its size and then chased after them. It pulled a mallet out of its package because it was a magic package. With great strength, it smashed the robbers into rubble. However, the soup leaked into the ground. "Oh, no," said the cook. "My soup is gone." With a cry of the soup sprouted into a tree bearing large cans of soup, and one of them crushed the cook. Bargo and Steigo stood silent. A tumbleweed rolled by. Taking a break for comments. What the hell is this? Casto Kaiji never exists after these first couple chapters. I have no idea what the hell it even is supposed to be. There's the excellent toucan. Alright, so chapter insert number here, which is 5, but it's not going to be labeled from now on, so I'll probably start forgetting soon. The tumbleweed turned out to be an Elementino covered in sticks rolling around. Bargo and Steigo went over to it and took all the sticks off, and then they ate some bossberries. No idea what that is. The Elementino seemed grateful. Suddenly a storm came in less than a second. A purple lightning bolt hit Elementino, and his eyes flared fuchsia. He turned to Steigo and Bargo and grinned evilly. He went quicker than a fox and smashed the magic box out of Steigo's hands and ripped it open. He pulled Bargo and Steigo in with his energy sphere, then put them in the box and sealed it. Then he threw the box and got blown away, and his eyes turned back to normal. 14,000 years later, give or take 14,000 years, Steigo and Bargo burst out off the box. But they were not two beings anymore. The magic box had done something strange. Bargo had melded with Steigo to form, somehow, a Bargo. As you would have guessed, he was unhappy. He fell over and laid there for bleh, unit of time, days, until someone picked him up. He told them he needed to find an evil Elementino. "You're in luck," he exclaimed. "Here, I'll take you home and show him to you," he explained. Bargo was excited. The man also seemed excited to show them it. He brought them to a large garage in which there was a very odd creature. "Well, here is my elemental rhino," he said. "We said an evil Elementino," Bargo said in two voices. "Oh, too bad, come pet him," he frowned. So Bargo somehow pet the rhino with issues, but as soon as he touched it, he started glowing. The light split in two, then formed into a Bargo and a Steigo. Then they individually pet the rhino. Steigo evolved into Had, and Bargo the Bikdip turned rainbow colors. Then the two things left. Had to hop around. Don't know why. Then they walked under the soup tree, and a giant soup can fell off and crushed Bargo. Had melted it with his burning neck, and luckily Bargo was still alive. It seemed that the rainbow colors were what caused him to live. Just then a tumbleweed rolled by. Bargo rushed over and ripped all the sticks off. There was a small yucco inside, so they gave it some soup and let it join them on their journey. Chapter 6. Okay, I guess there's some new characters to introduce. Elementino is sort of an atom-like creature. Its main body is sort of a sphere with two orbits around it. It has energy around it. Its pre-evolution is Eaterbo, and it evolves into Atmobob. Bossberries are a kind of tasty purple berries that can explode if used correctly. Bargo is a triangle with a frown in one eye. It evolves into Garbo, then Bikdip. Had is stick figure standing on its own head. It has fire coming out of where its head should be. Yucco is an egg with a tail, beak, and feathers coming out of its head. It evolves into Snorky and then Yuckronsky. With that settled, here is the story. Bargo I think I scrolled too far up. Bargo, Had, and Yucco continued on their journey. By the way, their entire point of traveling is to find out what happened to Bargo, referring back to the beginning of the story. Now, along the way, there were some exciting points. Yucco found a Janbu. Janbu is sort of a cubic character with straight lines for arms, legs, and tail. It has a little mouth on the bottom side of its line that goes down its center horizontally. This is the shittiest description. It evolves into Genbarang, then Junspinar. Yucco kept it as a pet. However, more importantly, they found a Yuckronsky. When a first form beats its final evolution in a battle, it evolves. Had and Bargo weakened it, then Yucco finished it off with a wing whack and a beak hammer. It shone a bright white light, then evolved into Snorky, a pudgy little bird with the same features as Yucco, but now it has small wings. It probably couldn't evolve into a Yuckronsky, though. To evolve, it has to take in all the surprises, which nobody knows how to do. They continued on to the city of Townsville. Powerpuff Girls rip off anyone? There they met up with a random guy who was breakdancing, and he lost a pendant of some sort. Bargo picked it up and noticed the inscription of BFJ on the back. Not thinking it was of much importance, he left it on the ground, figuring the breakdancer might find it later. Suddenly something rose from the shadows. I think that's the end of the chapter there. Checking chat. Excellent times. Also, I have to point out that I am noticing here that almost every single time I type the word it's with an apostrophe, and it is incorrect. So from now on, I will actually start to say it is instead of it's whenever it is spelled wrong. Okay. Chapter 7, I think. At first they didn't know what it could be. Then they noticed that it wasn't attacking them yet, which was a good sign. The figure started to step out of shadow. For a fleeting instant, Bargo remembered the face half hidden in shadow. Then the figure was fully out of shadow. He was a little hunched over, wearing mostly rags and a jacket. Then the Schmeigenhagen asked for some cheese because he was feeling depressed. Had gave him a block of cheese. Literally, it was a block-long piece of cheese. The Schmeigenhagen thanked him for the cheese and ate it in 15/17 of a bite. Janbu got excited and ate a bite before the rest was eaten. Then he puked it up and it turned into a Junspinar. This was his chance to evolve. So first Bargo got in the way of a Bosberry bomb attack, knocking him unconscious. But this gave Had just enough time. He used a neck flame torch and took Junspinar down to a thread. Janbu touched him and he died. So Janbu glowed green and turned into a Genbarang. This made him too big for Snorky. So the 4 companions finally went to sleep in a rundown hotel with most of its walls missing. Chapter 8, I think. Quick into. Schmeigenhagen is the evolution of Schmigenhagen. It looks sort of like a Squirtle, but it still has the weird eyes and dumb face. Junbarang is which is spelled wrong, is a creature that looks slightly like a pill of medicine. It is more developed looking than Janbu, and its limbs are no longer simple lines. It has ears, a curly tail, and a cute face. Junspinar, its evolution, looks like it, but it has a horn on its tail and it spins on it. It also has a strange antenna coming out of its head in 2 places, but it connects. Suddenly, the font turns to Times New Roman. Back to the story. In the hotel, it was evidently very crappily made. There was only one room where all 4 of them had to sleep. Had couldn't sleep in the bed because it would set it aflame. Snorky slept in a makeshift nest on the TV, and Genbarang and Bargo slept in the bed. At 2:89 a.m., there was a rapping on the door. It was a Kez. Kez is a completely round pig with a spiky thing on its head and a curly tail. Yo, I got something to sell. What? It's 10 to 3 in the morning, said Had. I was selling all the surprises for a lousy $9.99. $1,000? No way. Suddenly, Snorky went crazy. Okay, let's buy it. Come on, I have plenty of money. And pulled a $1,000 bill out of nowhere and bought it. It was in a nice little package. Over the next few weeks, Snorky took in all the surprises by getting surprised or startled in every way possible. One was getting shot in the back with a freezing cold water gun, which got on Genbarang a little, causing it to evolve Inyo a Junspinar as well. After about a month in the roach-infested hotel, Snorky finally evolved. Now it was a Yakronsky, a bird that looks like Articuno, but similar body. Its wings and tail are extremely large. So now the group is 4 fully evolved strange creatures. Not bad for Chapter 8, huh? Let's see what we got here. Sorry if I'm probably not going to be responding to the chat too often. I just want to check it to see if people have questions or anything. Okay, chapter $. Yeah, it's good. So the 4 companions finally decided to continue on their journey. The left the hotel, and all there was the one room, so they didn't have to pay. The breakdancer was still there, dancing the same dance. After a little while, they all came to a huge building. It had no distinguishing marks except for a plaque on the door. It read, The City Village Gym Leader Block. Well, at least we've reached City Village. Yee, whatever. Nat ta battle, anyone? Sure, let's all go. It'll be fun. Okay. So they entered the gym. Someone somewhere said, You here to challenge me? Yes, they all replied. But you need a human trainer, dip, $H, quotes plus. Damn. So they left to find a trainer. They found the breakdancing guy. They looked at each other, then all screamed really loud. This caused the breakdancer to get the move wrong, break his neck, and die. Well, can't use him. So they continued looking for a trainer. They found a farm with a scarecrow on it, and Bargo had an idea. Come on, let's just steal the thing, then dress it up like a trainer, and use him. So that's exactly what they did. They stole some clothes, ate some cheese, and went back to the gym. You got a trainer now? Sure do. Then let's battle. Go, lump of cheese. Junspinar stood behind the scarecrow, holding it up, and said in a crappy voice, Go, had. So out came the creatures. Had, with a strange non-capitalized D, simply burnt him to a crisp. Then the gym leader sent out block of cheese. Had, spelled badly again, torched him most of the way, then ate the rest. Block never got him back. Then Block sent out Zigurdo. This might be a challenge. Why is it always wrong? Had thought. Zigurdo. Oh, yeah, this might be a challenge, had thought. Zigurdo, use Bubba Beam. Zigurdo let loose his signature move laser beam thing. Luckily, had used an eat and ate most of the beam. Then Zigurdo used Melt, turning into a liquid on the floor and trickling everywhere. Had was so surprised he didn't move, so Zigurdo's liquid came up under him, surrounded him, and apparently solidified back to regular Zigurdo. Then Had sort of fell out of him, knocked out. Up next was Junspinar, so Yakronsky held up the Scarecrow. Junspinar immediately used Spin and hit Zigurdo in the back, but Ziggy quickly turned around and shot his beam at Junspinar. Junspinar, of course, inverted colors, and this lowered his self-esteem. So Zigurdo jumped up and landed on him, fainting him. Fainting him too. So out went Yakronsky. Yakronsky slapped his wings, smashing Zigurdo to jelly. This does not mean he's dead. So then, smart Yakronsky froze him. This caused too much change and expanding and contracting and stuff, so Zigurdo was badly beaten. Gym Leader Block sent out Garbo. Yakronsky was stunned for a second, and this was enough for the well-trained Garbo. He ate Yakronsky in one bite, digested him, and crapped him out. Yakronsky was far past fainted. So it was Bargo's turn. It was strange fighting his earlier stage, but not much. Bargo used a tri-beam on Garbo and almost defeated him. This stopped Garbo enough for Bargo to do the same to him as Garbo had done to Yakronsky. So Block lost the match and gave them the Block badge. They cherished it and left to continue the journey. New character time. Lump of cheese is a lump of cheese. I cannot elaborate on this any further. Block of cheese is also what you would expect, a block of cheese. Zigurdo is a purple rounded rectangle with a brown oval in it and a pink dot in the middle. Garbo, the evolution of Bargo and evolves into Bikdip, is a red square with two eyes and expressionless expression. With their new block badge, the four strange creatures decided they would become trainers of themselves and travel Carto, gathering the badges. After City Village, the next stop was Mount Peak. For some reason, you couldn't actually climb over the mountain, so you had to cut through the middle of it. It sounds easier than it is. There was no tunnel through the middle of it. Therefore, Yo had to do the third option, walk around it. In the area around the mountain, random things would happen, as the area was uncharted. This was easier, since Yakronsky could just fly them over the area. They did so, but about halfway there, it started raining rhinos. There were many sticks in the uncharted land, and since sticks evolve when rhinos step on them, they started to evolve into wimples. Wimples are little caterpillars, except they're totally not. Stick is the evolution of rock. A rhino hit Yakronsky, causing it to pass out. They fell into the randomness with wimples everywhere. Suddenly, a rhino smashed into an entire pile of gathered sticks, making wimples fly everywhere. They were absolutely everywhere. Bargo, Junspinar, Had, and the passed out Yakronsky were pummeled by the flying wimples and were not getting very far. They took turns dragging the bird's body. Eventually, the wimples stopped shooting everywhere, but there was a solid 3 inches of wimples everywhere. At least... God damn it, this is bad. At least the rhinos stopped falling. After a few hours, Yakronsky woke up, but it had a broken wing, so they had to continue walking, or rolling in Bargo's case. The next day, a strange light appeared in midair. A portal of some sort was opened, and a strange symbol-like creature of some sort came flying out. Hundreds more came flying out as well, and they were all different. They all connected into a big orb, and a mysterious glow was emitting from it. A booming voice entered their minds. Hello, feeble creatures. We are the Alphabetinos. Eons ago, we were the rulers of Carto. With our powers, we created Elementinos, and they created all the other strange creatures. A super powerful one was made, and it locked us into a different dimension forever since. We are comprised of 26 different types. Joel, Hosp, Hodge, Svez, Snez, Kaze, Ez, Ow, Lala, Ne, Snaze, Og, Bo, Shez, Egg, Shte, Raz, Blaz, Noke, Lauk, Spo, Patapat, Spax, Irg, and Schmo. Feel our wrath! Then a Wimple sneezed on it. It screamed and disappeared into nothingness. With that settled, they continued on to Cityburg, where they would battle the second gym leader. Okay. They walked on to Cityburg. Yagronsky's wing was almost healed, so he was less grumpy. He was still known to snap at random bystanders, though. Suddenly, a Bargo walked by in Bargo's path, and since he was a triangle in Bikdip's role, Bargo went flying off the jump and made a little star in the sky. Yagronsky told the others to I can't fucking talk. Yagronsky told the others to hop on his back and hold on, but they doubted him. So he threw them on his back and warned them to hold on tightly. They all did with a passion. Yagronsky rose off the ground and began to tip sideways as he flew. After a while, he was flying in a spiral. This is why he warned them to hang on. But as Hadhad was about to puke, he saw Bargo lying on the ground. He told Yagronsky to land, so he just crashed into the ground. Hadhad and Junspinar went flying. They landed right by Bargo. They were going to try to wake him up when they noticed these strange little sprouts coming out of the ground. They looked closer. They were like brownish and moving slightly. They were also growing at an amazing speed. Eventually, as the two strange creatures watched, these sprouts grew into small animals that were undescribable, also known as things. Thing evolves from seed. Seed is the only strange creature that doesn't have to beat its final form to evolve. Thing evolves into small woodland creature, which is a very good SC. These things were amazingly fast, so Junspinar only just caught one. He caught it in a creature ball, though, so it was his SC. Then they woke up Bargo and went over to Yagronsky. He was out cold, so they had to carry him all the way back to Cityburg. They saw a glimpse of Town Village on their way there. When they entered Cityburg, it was nighttime, so they had to find a place to sleep. They eventually slept under Yagronsky's giant wing. When they woke up, Yagronsky had left. They found him in a nearby dumpster, completely covered in water, garbage, some wimples, some rhinos, random liquids, and some soup. They pulled him out, and he smelled horrible. They had to shoot him with a hose that came from nowhere for him to wake up. Then they sprayed the rest of him and ate some cheese. Oh boy. The cheese they ate turned out to be magic cheese and teleported all 5 of them to the next gym at Cityburg. What are the odds? Now they still needed a trainer to go into the gym. Junspinar decided to be the trainer, and it caught Bargo, Hadhad, and Yagronsky. It walked into the gym. Inside, it was raining. There was also a huge pool covering the entire place in at least 2 feet of water, much deeper in the center. In the middle, a girl was wading in the water with a... Hold on, I'm checking something here, because I feel like I skipped something. Yeah, I think there's a chapter missing here. I think that, there's like a part with Mount Peak. I guess I'll just continue reading it. Maybe it'll come up later? I don't know. This is weird. Because I swear this comes later. This is supposed to be like Cerulean City. Anyway, getting back to this. A girl was wading in the water with a Schmegenhagen. It is guess was the gym leader. Junspinar left for about a week, then came back in. The gym leader revealed herself to be Rainey, and had no problem with the fact that Junspinar was its own trainer. She started the battle immediately. It would be a 4-on-4. She sent out Schmegenhagen. Junspinar sent out Thing, which drowned. Yeah, we definitely missed something. That's bizarre. I don't know where it went. I'll see if I can find it later. Anyway, it then sent out Hadhad, which died because it was a fire type. Junspinar then continued the battle as itself. It used Bosberry Bomb on Schmegenhagen, and it died immediately. She then sent out Schmegenhagen. Junspinar used Bosberry Bomb, and Schmegenhagen ate it. It then used Eye Blast. Its eyes glowed a bright black, don't ask, and shot a beam at Junspinar's antenna. It caught a flame, and Junspinar put it out by jumping underwater. It then used a quick spin, which drilled a hole in Schmegenhagen's shell. Schmegenhagen made things interesting by using ha. Here's a good description of it. Ha. The annoying noise caused Junspinar to yelp out in pain. Thinking quickly, if you call 5 minutes quickly, Junspinar shot a Bosberry Bomb at Schmegenhagen's mouth, and it choked and died. She sent out Sugen Haas. It beat the crap out of Junspinar easily, but Junspinar still had 1 HP left. It used a really powerful headbutt, and the background music got louder. It glowed white, and suddenly evolved into Junspinar. This new evolution made it much stronger, and it defeated Sugen Haas with 1 water shot, which was not very effective. Rainey then sent out a new SC. It was a weird fish thing called Glop. She said it was the evolution of Blap and Badari. Junspinar digivolved back to Junspinar, though. Glop defeated it with one rainbow spit. A rumbling came out of one of its SC cubes. Yakronsky came out. It used Russian Jig. A tall purple fuzzy hat appeared on its head and its attack level raised. With 2 rolling frenzies and a beak hammer, Glop was defeated. Yakronsky got the rain badge and all 5 were healed. Their adventure continues. So they all left Cityburg and headed on to Villageville. Don't ask. They were walking along when they met a circus dog on a ball. It saw them and fell off its ball. Suddenly, a Pokemaster Ian came out from behind the bush he was humping. The Kamapnians decided to help out the CDOAB. Bargo used Big Bite. He ate Pokemaster Ian, then he used Digest, then Crap. Pokemaster Ian came out of his @SS much weaker. But then he pulled off his giant hair and used Hair Bomb, in which he threw his hair at Bargo and exploded. Bargo fainted, so Junspinar came to battle. P.I. turned and used a hump on him, causing much mental damage. This froze Junspinar long enough for Pokemaster Ian to use Laser Eye, seeing as his eye is... His eye is not huge. Seeing as his eye is huge, this fainted Junspinar. Hadhead came to battle now. He torched P.I. down to 2 HP, so Circus Dog on a Ball bit him and he died. CDOAB glowed white, then evolved into Gart, a weird goat thing with a pointy face from the comic. Then Hadhead obligingly burnt him, and he evolved again into a Pokemaster Ian. He immediately started humping the fainted PM. I'm assuming that means PI. This was enough to unfaint all the fainted SC in the world, so they took their new friend PM with them on their journey. Suddenly they all fell in a hole. They fell down for 1 million seconds, then fell back up. Then the dead PI morphed into a lump of cheese, and Bargo foolishly ate him. Then Bargo died. What the fuck was that? Finally they reached Villageville. Thing went into a dumpster and ate some garbage. Then they all went back in time to when Thing was getting into the dumpster. Luckily, they were on the other side of the dumpster than themselves. Hadhead pulled out the old Thing before he ate the garbage again. They took him with them and ran... I have no idea what the hell this chapter is. They took him with them and ran into the building they were by. They were inside panting when the 2 things, actually the same one, but 2 of them, started to mate. I know it's strange, but they had a seed together. One of the things put him in his pocket. The companions went over to the dumpster where Thing was in. Oh, where Thing went in. They looked all around it, but they couldn't find him. They decided to look around town. First they went around the street, then they started looking in buildings. They first went over to the one nearest the dumpster. They opened the door and heard some small, quick screaming. When they looked around, Noonie was there, but the person at the lobby desk, looking confused. The companions asked him if he had seen a thing come in recently. He nodded and pointed to the hallway to the right. Just as the companions went into the hallway, the other companions closed the door behind them. Luckily, the first companions went right past the door. But then PM couldn't resist the urge and remembered the door closing. He ran back to that room and opened up the door. All the companions were at the window, all trying to get out at the same time. When the PI came in, they all froze. Then PI fainted. Elsewhere, Bargo noticed that they were missing PI. They all wondered where he could have gone, but decided to go back to that room where the door closed. They of course found PI laying fainted on the floor, with themselves and an extra thing around him. A few of them fainted, but they were soon revived. The later companions told them all the story of what happened, and told them what to do. They all went down to the dumpster and climbed in. They all started eating the same piece of garbage at the same time. They were transported through time again. What the fuck just happened? I don't even know what, I'm legitimately confused by this right now, but we're gonna power through this. The companions appeared in the hotel room as they left out the window. They had somehow combined back into one group of companions, but they all sort of had 2 memories of what happened. They still didn't follow themselves, though. Luckily, Thing still had his seed, so they continued towards the gym. Jesus Christ, that chapter. Okay, I need a break from that one. Let's hold on a second here. The group of 6 travelers arrived at the Villageville gym. They went in, ready to fight. With a quick glimpse of a sign that said, "Welcome to Pops," they all fell in a plot hole. During the fall, all 6 characters were transformed into a Stek. Stek is a freaky thing with a duck head with its eyes closed, tongue sticking out, and a little curl of hair on its head. The rest of its body is blue, and it is sort of like a cart with wheels. It landed in a castle of some sort. In the castle, there was a convenient located sign that said the following. W3L... fuck it, I'm not going to read that out. Welcome to the land of Oz, is what it says, like in calculator stuff. Just to actually explain that. That is not, like, leet. That is actually, I used to, like, pass messages to people at class by just putting, like, symbols on our calculator, and that was what we had to come up with. That was, like, the language for it. Anyway. Welcome to the land of Oz. You just fell through a plot hole, used to stall the story so Jish wouldn't have to post the battle chapter. The place you are in is a bad rip-off of the Wizard of Oz. You will meet some of your friends, but they are really only their bodies. Their souls are in the normal world playing Go Fish. They have other souls in this place. They may help you, hurt you, or yell random things. This sign will self-destruct 10 seconds after you read it. Stek ran away and climbed up a ladder. The explosion broke the ladder, but Stek was already almost there. The ladder was hanging on by a thread. Seriously, someone tied it to the ceiling with a piece of thread. Up there was another hallway with a red carpet leading to the throne. Birds shot out of the carpet and sang Disney songs and were shooting peanuts at traveling salesmen. Stek easily passed them all. There it met up with its friend from the real world, Thing. It began to say a long speech, so Stek pitched a lawn chair and drank a beverage with a small paper umbrella in it. Hello, my friend. I am King Thing. I've been waiting for you. You see, Pokemaster Ian has kidnapped all the Bikdips. Also, I needed to get his Magical Stone of Happiness trademark to send you home to Karto in my super fluffy cloud. You will have to follow the gold-plated suede path to his lair. Return to me with the stone and I can bring you hope. He then rambled on about nothing in particular for 5 freaking hours. Stek responded with, X, and left immediately. A while later, it came upon a fork in the path. Stek picked it up and used it to eat some monkey meat. Then the path split into 2. It sang out, Gee, I wonder, gee, I wonder, gee, I wonder, gee, I wonder which one to pick. Then Yakronsky flew out of the sky. Well, I believe that way is a very nice way, but I'm not sure, as I haven't got a mind. No mind? No mind. Only dumb. But how can you talk if you haven't got a mind? I'm not sure, but I suppose some Yakronskys without minds do an awful lot of talking. The conversation continued, following with the If I Only Just So Happened to Be in Possession of a Mind song. Where the hell are we? Okay, here. They then continued down the gold-plated suede path. Further down the path, in a forest, they, randomly capitalized, came across a had. It was standing there asleep. They set it on fire and it woke up. It said, well, I was standing here one day about a year ago, burning wood, but suddenly it started to rain. It put my fire out and I was trapped here. Well, you're perfect now. Perfect? Well, bang on my stick figure body if you think I'm perfect. Stek did so, and an echo came out of nowhere. It said that it didn't have a cardiovascular muscle, and sang, if only I just so happened to have a cardiovascular muscle. It joined their journey as well. Deeper into the forest, Pokemaster Ian appeared on a cottage. It shot a laser eye at Yakronsky, and Yakronsky caught on fire. Had burned Yakronsky, and the fire went out. Why? Pokemaster Ian left in a cloud of smoke marked poof, and a monotone voice said, poof. They then met up with Junspinnar, who attacked them and complained that it is spineless, saying it sang, if I only just so happened to have a spine. All of them continued to Pokemaster Ian's lair. Some stuff happened, and they melted him with a bucket of snez. No idea what that was supposed to mean. They freed all the Bikdips, and one joined them. They then took his Magical Stone of Happiness trademark and teleported back to King Thing's castle. He was now a small woodland creature. He said that the soul of Thing lost in Go Fish, causing it to evolve. King Thing evolved too. It used the Magical Stone of Happiness trademark to make itself, Pokemaster Ian, Bikdip, had Yakronsky, and Junspinnar to fly out of Stek's body and ride the super fluffy cloud back to Karto. They appeared back in front of the Welcome to Pops sign, back to normal, but with Thing evolved. They entered the gym. Let me check comments here. Have a Wimple. Yes. I like Wimple. Alright. So they went past the sign saying, "Welcome to Pops." They went on to the gym beyond. They looked at the plaque in the ground, and it said, "The gym leader, Lieutenant Burg." They were afraid that it could speak, so they ran inside. Inside, they all gasped. Then everyone else gasped. Then a guy in a monotone voice said, "Gasp." They had stepped to the edge of a small platform over the largest hole they had ever seen. It wasn't dark, but white and misty as it got deeper. There were platforms randomly placed in the area, and some were just floating in the air. Above them, there was a huge dome. They heard a voice from under them, getting closer. He sounded excited that he had a challenger. Suddenly, a man riding a Yakronsky came right up in front of them. He hovered there, then spoke. "Well, it seems I have some new challengers. They might actually be a challenge this time," he laughed. "I am Lieutenant Burg, the best bird-type SC trainer around. I am also the gym leader of this Villageville gym. It shall be a 3-on-3 match. You send first. I will be waiting on the other side." He had to say this because you could not see the other side of the gym. They were all a little scared, but they knew who they should use. First went Pokemaster Ian. He jumped to a platform floating a little to the side and below him. Out of the mist came Yakronsky, looking menacing. But Pokemaster Ian just wanted to hump him. First, P.I. used an eye laser. This blew a hole in Yakronsky's wing because he was going so fast. He span out of the way of P.I. Then, as he was passing, Pokemaster Ian jumped onto him and started to hump him. Yakronsky was in great pain. He had to eventually crash land on a platform because he was weak, and it was the only way to get P.I. off him. P.I. went flying off the platform. He fell down for about a minute, then, would you believe it, landed on a moving platform. He was knocked unconscious for a little. Meanwhile, Yakronsky was laying on the platform, resting. Suddenly, Pokemaster Ian came too. He was on the platform, which was still moving. He got up and brushed himself off. He looked around and saw that he was actually quite near to the bottom. Let me scroll up here. Okay. The platform had moved a little when he hit it. The floor wouldn't have. Wait, what? Oh, okay. He tried to find a way back up. When the platform came near the wall, he saw a small ladder, so when the platform came back to the wall, he used Big Leap. He made it to the ladder, but only got one hand to hold on. He was now hanging by one hand. Thank you. He quickly got the other hand on a rung, then pulled himself up a little and got his feet on. He was actually a skilled ladder climber. Once he was on, he flew up the ladder like there was no tomorrow. Yakronsky came shooting down, looking for Pokemaster Ian's remains. He passed by P.I. without even seeing him because P.I. was going so fast up the ladder. Eventually, he got to the top. The other companions were very distraught, knowing that most likely P.I. had died on impact with the floor, and if not that, then when Yakronsky killed him. So you can see why they were very surprised when Pokemaster Ian came over the edge of their platform, bruised and injured, but alive. He hauled himself over the edge and onto the platform, panting. All the companions came running over, and as they were excited, they accidentally pushed him off. Luckily, Yakronsky was coming up slowly right under him. Yakronskys are very soft. P.I. stayed conscious this time. He humped the Yakronsky some, then used a few eye lasers. He finished him off with a bitch slap. Yakronsky went spiraling downwards, eventually smashing into the floor with a crunch. Pokemaster Ian's landing was of course cushioned by Yakronsky. Pokemaster Ian slowly got up, with blood running down his face and his clothes torn. Lieutenant Burg was furious and sent out Kobleron. End of chapter. Pokemaster Ian was perfectly ready to battle Kobleron. Kobleron, by the way, is a big bird, bet you didn't see that one coming, with a slight, very slight resemblance to Firo. It has a freaky tail that splits in two and curls around a little bit. When I colorized it, I made it red and a fire type. Green Lantern is probably going to make things difficult and say he wanted it different, but oh well, P. Anyway, Kobleron blasted a huge pillar thing of fire right at P.I.'s family jewels, and he broke down crying. He then started swirling around in some freaky manner and turned into a time warp and got sucked into himself. There was silence. Normally a tumbleweed would have rolled by, but it was silent as well. Small woodland creature then stepped up to battle. It used Eat. A random piece of food appeared, SWC ate it, and Kobleron lost 1 HP. Kobleron flew into the air, charging up a big swoop. SWC used Digest, and the food it ate was digested. Kobleron was unaffected. With a huge cry of insert word here, it flew down with great speed and smashed right into small wait a sec, it got stuck in the ground. SWC then used its final move of its combo, Crap. It stood on Kobleron's back. Kobleron looked frightened. It then strained a little bit and dropped a dookie right on Kobleron's back. Kobleron yelled in either pain or disgust. It was hard to tell which. Kobleron tried to get out of the ground and didn't succeed. SWC then used Go Fish. It was a weird attack that had a 50-50 chance of killing the other SC or itself. It laid out the cards and said, "Do you have any threes?" Kobleron said Go Fish, so SWC drew a card. The game continued, and Kobleron won. A fish flew out of the cards and tail slapped SWC, eventually defeating it. Jun Spinar was about to start, but a light came out of midair. Pokemaster Ian reappeared, and had an operation, so he was back to normal. With Kobleron in perfect position, PI was more than ready to get started. Kobleron forfeited. Lieutenant Bird now sent out his last SC, Stack. Okay. Stack came out of his SC cube. He couldn't see anything, of course, but he knew his way around the gym well. Pokemaster Ian turned to him, spit dripping from his mouth and claws growing on his fingers. He was also glowing and growing metal wings. He was actually warp digivolving into metal Pokemaster Ian. Stack has an amazing sense of what's around him, and easily didged MPI as he dove at him. MPI turned and slashed at Stack. He only made some small scratches, BTW. BTW, MPI's spit is burning holes in the platform. MPI then stabbed Stack from both sides and impaled him. He took his fingers out, and Stack started up and drove backwards off the platform. He went falling into the mist. MPI was surprised for a split second, then spread his wings and leaped down after Stack. His eyes were glowing red. Stack easily landed on a moving platform. It moved slightly, then MPI went shooting downwards past him where he had just been. Stack used Ice Wahe combo, freezing MPI before he came back up. He fell to the ground heavily, and a bunch of ice came off him. He cracked a little, then Stack fell down on MPI and used a drill. His hair began to spin extremely quickly, then he drilled a hole through the frozen MPI. He then took a step back and used Blast, greatly damaging MPI. He melted and digivolved to Pokemaster Ian. He rolled on the ground in pain. I mean, who wouldn't if he had a hole through them? Stack came over, then used his worst attack. There was a moment where PI had a terrified look on his face, then the weird magic turned him into a rat. Stack opened his beak and ate him. Stack won the round. Or so everyone thought. Suddenly, the smug-looking Stack frowned and began to convulse. He screamed in pain, then his wheels fell off. The Pokemaster Ian rat came crawling out of his throat, then hung onto his tongue and pulled it to the ground as he went down. He then humped the tongue and threw it back in Stack's mouth, and he used a quick eye laser and finished off Stack. He morphed back into Pokemaster Ian and cheered with the rest of them. He went up to the other receiving their badge. "I give you this bird badge, and I feel I lost it fair and square. You guys were truly wonderful, I have to admit. Here you go." And then Lieutenant Bird handed them the bird badge. They all left the gym and continued on their journey. I swear, sometimes these freaking battle chapters are impossible to freaking follow. Anyway, yeah, there was a Big Adventure version that had Captain Pringle as the main character. It was kind of weird. Blast is actually not censored. It's just spelled blast. It's blast. It's specifically pronounced that way. Okay. The companions sat on a rhino, riding to Happy Land or something. They now had 3 badges, the Block Badge, the Rain Badge, and the Bird Badge. They had to get another badge along the way. They ran into a badly drawn kid named Harold who really liked potatoes. And today he was going to tell a story about a potato. Once upon a time, there was a potato, and his name was Philip. Now, Philip was a happy potato, so he decided to go for a walk. Then he walked for a little while, and he fell in a hole. The end. Strange laughing noise. He loved that story. Vendigo. Then the whole place turned badly drawn into 2D. In the 2D world, there were stupid characters everywhere. There was a deformed-looking guy named Maynard who had a really dumb laugh. It was indescribable. He died. Then the 2D-ness went away. That's about it. A trainer came along and caught them all. The end. I don't feel like writing. Go to stupid.com for some fun. Happy face, sad face, expressionless face. Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna have to try this. Keep in mind, I do not know Spanish. So, I'm gonna try to read this out here. Okay, this chapter will be in Spanish. Los compañeros oh, this is gonna be bad. Hixerion ten un poco de materia después toda dada vuelta al revés, e excepción de la mitad de todo. Time out. Tan entonces amistrador ser no upside down, pero la mayor la fo paisaje ser else. Oh god, okay, fuck this. Translation. So the companions did some stuff, then everything turned upside down except for half of everything. So then the trainer wasn't upside down, but most the landscape was. He was walking on some air for a while, then he fell far down into the sky. So if you were on the ground, he would be falling up while turned upside down. Then when he passed the clouds, he was weightless for a second, spinning around slowly, then he became heavy again. He started falling. Now he was falling back to the ground. He gained momentum and eventually was going so fast that he could breathe through his skin. This can actually happen while skydiving. Then the ground was coming up fast. He had nothing to stop himself at all, and so he saw his own horrible death come rushing at him. Then he was strewn across the ground. All his SC cubes then hit the ground, and all their buttons got pushed, so the SCs came out. Most of them puked when they looked around them, but then they were happy that when they realized they didn't have a trainer anymore. So they happily continued on to City Town for their next badge. But they couldn't get there directly. They would have to go through an underground tunnel. Everyone was falling in Spanish. Then the trainer person disappearadisi, actually it's disappeared, but I felt like spelling it wrong, into a puff of smoke. A kamikaze watermelon flew out of the sky and hit the place where the trainer once was. The trainer reappeared and screamed. The began swirling around into a time warp and imploded. While this was happening, they were still falling, and they were all silent. A Mr. Waite fell out of a helicopter and was approaching at them at a great speed. All 6 of the SCs moved to the right, and the Mr. Waite fell onto the ground and made it collapse into itself, along with all the other land that was still remaining normal. Above them, there was some land and some sky. Below them was nothing but sky. They kept falling, and flash! Bargo was battling an Atmobob. The Atmobob did a dance, and Bargo died. Flash! They were falling again. Suddenly, they got sucked into a black ball of solid gaseous liquid. It was pulled to the side onto a plate with Robert Stein and a book called How Pink... God damn it. Okay, let me try and read this again. It was pulled to the side onto a plate with Robert Stein and a book called How Pinkerton the Elephant Saved Both the Day and the Night in One Moment's Notice. Flash! Yakronsky came forth to defeat the Atmobob, but tripped on a chipmunk and floated up into a massive... Fuck this chapter. And floated up into a massive Nickelodeon goose. Flash! Robert Stein told them if they believed in themselves... they could teleport home. So they did, and everyone lived happily never after. Vendigay. Jesus Christ. This is like the worst freaking story. I love it, though. Okay, taking a break here. Alright, chapter next. So the companions were walking along when Bargo saw a strange-looking rock. He went over to it and saw why he thought it was strange. It had an impressed mark on it. It looked like this. U. Except the caret was a line. He picked it up, wondering what it was. Since they were near to Village City, Bargo took the rock there. He went to a nearby information center. He asked the guard at the desk what the rock was. It suddenly got excited and told a very long tale. It turned out the rock was called a Vowel rock, a rare stone that forms of Schmigenhagen could use. They would eat them and become the form that used their vowel. The Gart showed them some pictures, like ones for an A rock and an E rock and even a rare O rock. Line isn't supposed to be wavy. Then Bargo went over to his friend Sugan Haas and told him the news. Okay, I have to interrupt right here. For the record, this was Harrison's chapter. I think he just randomly thought they had a Sugan Haas on their team, and they didn't. So I do actually address this later, but so canonically, this Sugan Haas came out of nowhere and is now just one of their permanent team members. I'm not going to have a picture of him in the stream thing because I don't have a high quality sprite made, but whatever. Okay. He got very excited and devolved to Schmagenhagen. Then Fargo fed him the rock and he imploded into a flash of white light. After the dust clear, a Schmugenhugen was standing in the Schmagenhagen's place. I'm not going to try to explain Schmugenhugen. Then the companions left the shop and headed to the gym. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter right there, I guess. Let me actually take a second, and I will put Schmugenhugen in the image, even though I said I wasn't going to. It should just take a minute. So, let me get the companions thing out. So, this is now my chapter. First of all, I have no freaking idea where Sugan Haas came from. He must have appeared out of nowhere. Now Schmugenhugen joined them on their happy adventure. Village City was approaching. They were standing still, but it was coming towards them. There, they would have to battle the gym leader, Hera. They finally arrived there after about 4 filler episodes over. What the hell was that? They were about to battle the gym leader, but Schmugenhugen noticed a shiny object. They all crowded around it. It was a thing. No, not the SC, it was just a thing. Upon closer inspection, a random geek figured out that it was a coin case. They all went to the casino. They did indeed do it. That concludes this extremely short chapter. Taking a break here. Okay, nothing too much. I do like the Robert Stein. But anyway. And yet, they had already arrived at the gym. Hera, the annoying gym leader, called for a 2-on-2 battle. Of course, she only spoke in metaphors, so it took the companions a little while to figure this out. Then they chose a SC. This time they chose Bargo first. Hera sent out shapes, but then they realized this was a metaphor for Zyderblyfurgikosync. He flew up high and Bargo rolled around. Then when Zyderblyfurgikosync went for a dive, he smashed into the ground next to Bargo. Bargo found his chance and used his signature trio move. He ate him, digested him, and shitted him out. But Bargo had forgotten something. His trio move was weak against Zyderblyfurgikosync's. He hit himself with an imaginary arm for not remembering that. Zyderblyfurgikosync jumped higher and higher on his springs until he was jumping about 250 feet high. Then one time while Zyger was going up, Bargo finished his trap and set it under Zyger. He stepped back and a few minutes later Zyger came back down. He landed smack dab on the trap and got caught in it, but his feet still stuck out. He bounced around the room as a football would, then smashed into a wall. Bargo went over to him, shot him with his triple I-beam, then watched. Zyger was almost dead, and he knew it. With his last effort, he exploded into a million pieces. The shards cut through Bargo like butter when the dust... When the dust cleared, pieces of Zyger were laying everywhere, and Bargo lay dead on the floor, with many holes and slices in him. Hera returned her pieces, and the companions collected theirs. Then Hera sent out a Kirby, and the companions sent... They sent out Schmugenhugen. Here is a description for it. It looks a lot like a Schmagenhagen, but with completely white eyes, a little shorter, I think, and a dumber face. It prepared to use a big bite on Kirby, but Kirby inhaled and sucked him up. It then did something... Very descriptive. It then did something, causing Schmugenhugen to pop out of its back somewhere, and Kirby now had a weird face with white eyes. Schmugenhugen used a big bite, which hurt Kirby a lot. Kirby's eyes started to glow a bright black and shot out a laser beam straight at Schmugenhugen's face. It opened its pie hole and ate the beam, then puked it back up while shooting out another beam, which made it twice as strong. This was about to hit Kirby, but then it sucked up the beam and puked up the double beam while shooting out another. They exchanged this until Kirby shot out a ×56 beam, and it exploded immediately. This blew up the gym and started a strange flashing sequence. Time went back a few minutes before the battle started. This time, Hera sent out Atmobob. Bargo went up to fight it. The Atmobob did a dance and Bargo died. Yakronsky came forth to defeat the Atmobob, but it tripped on a chipmunk and floated up into a mass of Nickelodeon goos. This was just like what happened when they fell from the sky. Yakronsky struggled to come out of the goos, and suddenly the battle recontinued to right when Kirby shot out the I-beam. Schmugenhugen dodged it instead of sucking it up. The battle continues normally. Schmugenhugen used tail extension. His tail gets the length of a dead rabbit chewing on a rhino. So he whips it around and smacks Kirby right in the face. Kirby goes flying, but closes his mouth and blows up, thus making it so he can fly back into the ring. But Schmugenhugen already had his tail ready and went for another whack. But this time Kirby was ready. He caught the tail in his mouth and started eating it. Schmugenhugen was in great pain. Eventually, Kirby ate his whole tail, swallowed it, and then something strange happened. Since he ate the tail, he became extremely long and skinny, but still with the Kirby face. He then wound himself around Schmugenhugen, holding him very tightly in place, but he had to keep it like this, so he bit the other end of him to keep it all together. But this started something. He couldn't stop himself, so he eventually ate all of himself until he completely ate himself and nothing was left. Then a bright white light, starting as a little dot, grew until it formed a shape. When the light left, a Kibbo was standing there. He looked vengeful. Kibbo stood there dramatically, looking important. It figured that its sword would be good enough to finish off Schmugenhugen. Schmugenhugen had something in store for it, though. Tee-hee. Atmobob did a dance, and it destroyed all the other dimensions. Yakronsky took the chance to bite Atmobob. This fateful move made Atmobob turn solid. Yakronsky, of course, went and ate him, the lucky bastard. What the fuck is this chapter? Hera was furious and sent out Kirby. Kirby ate the Nickelodeon goos and turns green and liquidy. Yakronsky tried to drink him, but he only got part of him and choked. Since Kirby's mouth was still there, he ate Yakronsky and the rest of him. He turned into a bloated Kirby with wings and a beak, then he puked up Yakronsky. The green crap stuck all of Yakronsky's feathers so he couldn't fly. Kirby flew up so Yakronsky couldn't get him, then ate himself. Out of the nothingness, a small light began to grow and formed into a Kibbo. I think we went back in time again here. I can't really tell what just happened. Like, usually these battles are really hard to follow anyway, but I seriously have no idea what's happening here. Okay. This Kibbo still had wings. He went into an excruciatingly fast dive and pointed his sword. He tore right through Yakronsky. Yakronsky squawked and then exploded in a shower of petals. But then something strange happened, because it hasn't been before. The explosion was then up to battle, because he had clearly been sent out. He moved his radius over to the frightened Kibbo and burnt him to a crisp. By the way, explosion is, well, an explosion. It is constantly exploding, if you can imagine that, and only has a certain spherical area it covers before stopping. It evolves from implosion and evolves into black hole by becoming impossible. Hera had lost the battle. In shame, she gave the badge to the companions. The companions set off to get Yakronsky revived. They happy fluffy cornbread and feasted strange creatures now went on a super soft adventure to Metropolisburg. There, they would battle the gym leader, Mr. Trout. Mr. Trout was a happy trout. It used only insert word here types. First, Yakronsky's feathers from the explosion were used to resurrect Yakronsky. Their team is now, I like pie, Bargo the Bikdip, had Yakronsky, Junspinar, small woodland creature, Pokemaster Ian, Schmugenhugen, changed they dots to a line, explosion. And they were all very happy. An eraser came and changed all the E's in this chapter to underscores. So they went to the gym. They went and said and challenged Mr. Trout to a battle. He sent out Munker. From now on, go to the strange creatures topic and fake stuff to see what they look like. A pencil can't and brought the E's back. The other side sent out explosion. It started to advance slowly. Munker sort of danced around. Wait, where? Where was I? Munker sort of danced around and acted like an idiot while throwing banana ramasama llamas at it, which were scorched and burnt to a crisp, falling to the ground. Explosion came towards it some more. Munker began to throw explosive banana ramasama llamas, which obviously did no good whatsoever. Munker then sucked into itself and reappeared above Explosion. It ate a banana ramasama llama and fell into the explosion, which caused an instant death. Mr. Trout sent out Scorpon. This chapter died, so you must go outside and play with the diseased rock whilst you wait for it to come back. Chapter. Scorpon went over and circled Explosion 3 times. Then he clapped twice, jumped 5 feet in the air, flew upside down while eating a banana ramasama llama, snapped once, turned around, put his right foot in, took his left claw out, breakdanced, and that's what it's all about. This ancient ritual is the only way to surely defeat an explosion. It worked, and Explosion died. The companion sent out Bargo. Bargo began to roll around the arena. Scorpon was still panting and bent over. When he looked up, he was hypnotized by Bargo. Bargo began to increase his speed, and Scorpon had to watch him. Scorpon was still a little tired before he looked up, so now turning around so fast was making him tired twice as fast. Okay. Bargo increased his speed until he was rolling at 100 squared miles per hour. This was too much for Scorpon. He stopped and continued to watch until his neck got so tied that his head just eventually popped off. His body fell to the ground as he was returned to his SC cube. Mr. Trout sent out Burdag, but by now Bargo couldn't stop. He did stop trying to go faster, but if you imagine all the momentum and crap, and that he doesn't have any limbs, he couldn't really stop. Luckily, he intimidated Burdag. Burdag was unsure of what to do. He didn't ever look at Bargo, for he knew he would probably be hypnotized, and he also had to attack Bargo without looking at him. So Burdag flew up high and closed his eyes. He listened for Bargo. Of course, at Bargo's speed, he wouldn't really be in only one place, and thought he heard him. He dived down at full speed, and, amazingly enough, he did hit Bargo's track, but he missed Bargo himself. He was permanently stuck in the ground. Of course, he didn't have any time to realize this. At full speed, Bargo smashed direct onto Burdag. Burdag's bones were splintered, he was ripped from the ground, and he went flying. The abrupt obstruction of Bargo's path was immense. He squished to almost a line, and of course went flying in a random direction. Burdag flopped to the ground like a dead ragdoll and skidded. But he did this at the same time Bargo went out and crashed straight through the wall and went on flying for a little while. Both SCs were out of this match. Mr. Trout sent out his final SC, Schnauzio. So far, Bargo's side has 2 left, so they can probably take down just 1 more. To try and defeat Schnauzio, the most powerful of the 4 circle-like SCs, had stepped forth from the non-existent smoke of the battlefield. Technically, it has no legs, so it didn't really step forth, more like rolled. They began to stare each other down. Puffy pillows began to rain from the ceiling, which made things interesting. One fell directly on Had's flame thing, so it shot it directly at Schnauzio. The metal ball robot thing simply ate it and recited the old Tootsie Pop commercial. As it started saying something about the world never knowing, Had did something really weird. It jumped off its head, put its head on its stick-figure shoulders, and shot fire out of a place where the sun don't shine. Using the fire coming out of its ass as propulsion, it shot around the room like a missile, and headed straight for Schnauzio, which was dancing to a techno beat provided by Mr. Trout. Had aimed right for one of its feet, the one on the side, and knocked it right off. Schnauzio seemed to not care. Had made a return trip and did a sharp turn straight at its side arm. It flew off just like the leg. Schnauzio felt this one. It shot Electric City at Had, who started to fly out of Controlio. It decided to try to deal as much damage as possible, so it recklessly guided itself toward Schnauzio and managed to take out the top arm. Had exploded, and the debris took out the remaining foot. What are the odds? Meanwhile, Mr. Trout took a nap. They sent out Schmugenhugen. It immediately charged up at Eye Blast and fired it at Schnauzio's cyborg eye thing, but it shot out Electric City and blocked it. It dashed up and used Big Bite. It hit and did quite a bit of damage. Schnauzio slowly started to grow huge. While it did this, Schmugenhugen fired as many eye beams as possible, and none of them did really a lot, but they helped. At the last minute, it used shell attack. Shell came off and landed directly on one of Schnauzio's electrodes, which made the shell explode, and it was hit by various debris. While it was vulnerable, Schmugenhugen charged up a really powerful eye blast and hit Schnauzio in the eye. It exploded and made it blind. As Schnauzio started to stagger around the room, a pit opened up in the floor and sucked it up. This was technically a victory, so the team now had their 5th badge. Okay, checking comments. So the companions left, or tried to, the town, and Mr. Trout died. He was replaced by Mr. Pants, his boss. The companions were having some trouble. First of all, they had to find Bargo. Second, they had to somehow get Explosion back, and Yakronsky wasn't willing to be beaten again. They found a hat, but this did not help. After 100 squared years, they found Bargo. He was, of course, far gone. So they fed him the hat, and he revived. This also brought them back to time to the moment 5 minutes after they had left. Okay. A lightning bolt hit a tree and it exploded. Thus, their friend Explosion was back. As Bargo was walking along, he saw a rock. He picked it up. It was a dark greenish color, and it had a strange marking sort of like this. OE. He decided the rock was strange enough to keep for a while, so he pocketed it. As the companions were traveling, beside a river, Junspinar spotted a thing on the river bottom. Okay, I'm just going to have to call that like... Okay, so Junspinar spotted a on the river bottom. Since Junspinar loved he couldn't resist and had to go get it. He jumped into the river and dove down to the bottom to get it. He brought it back up to the surface and laid the on the shore. He got out of the water, spun off, and chowed down on the When he was finally done, he noticed all the companions were gone. He began to walk when a hole opened up, and a very exhausting-looking companions came out, all except for Junspinar. They went over to him, grabbed him, and continued on. If you do not get what happened, the companions realized they didn't have Junspinar much later, so then they went, and after a week, they finally found a thing to take them back in time to get Junspinar and continue on their journey. Well, thanks for explaining that, because I certainly didn't frickin' get it. Okay. Explosion started to convulse. It made itself melt into a puddle of cheese. Did Explosion come back? I thought it was... I don't even know. Rising from this puddle of cheese was a dog. It barked 4 3/4 times and then made a screw appear out of nowhere. Explosion reappeared and began to grow a bright white, even though it already sort of was. It slowly stopped exploding and was completely gone. It then reappeared as if nothing happened. Suddenly a head with no visible bottom appeared. It had huge eyes. It started muttering something. It sounded like your mom. Guess who? It was Ace. Ian came up and started the slap-like-a-girl fight again. It went on for some time. At the end, Ace won. Explosion started convulsing again. It made Ace's eyes finally close. This was impossible. His eyes could never close. As it started to glow white again, it puked up a Captain Pringle, then stopped evolving again. Ace beat Captain Pringle or something. Yeah. It evolved into Denza. Let's all be happy. Insert sarcasm here. Duh, end. This message was left blank. I am getting so freaking confused by this. Alright. As Explosion was where the fuck is Explosion? Like, I don't even know where it came from to begin with. And I don't know why it's still here. I thought it died or something. Anyway, as Explosion was moving along, he noticed a bird diving to the ground and then making a squawking noise and disappearing. He went over to investigate. On his way there, he imploded, and this being impossible, he gloated and evolved into Black Hole. Barely noticing the difference, BH continued on his investigation. He found an implosion lurking in a corner. Even though he was one of his own, BH was furious. He yelled many things, mostly bad, at the implosion before challenging him to a battle. Implosion, eager to evolve, accepted this. Black Hole, most strategious, uses his moves to his great advantage. The young Implosion, small but fairly strong, was rather inexperienced in this kind of fighting. He was soon down to his last point. Lying on the ground with Black Hole pressing his knife to Implosion's throat, Implosion accepted that would soon lose. But there was more. Before the final blow was struck, Implosion told him this: "Luke, I am your son." Black Hole screamed and, cuts to flashback, "What the hell is that thing?" "It's your son, you idiot." Later, "I don't care if your mother's dead. I will raise you." "No!" Later, "You get over here right now, son. I refuse. Son of a @% $, get over here." "No!" Father slaps child. "I'm leaving." End of flashback. Black Hole, regretting that, but then his anger bubbles up again. He yells out, and in the most impossible sequence ever, Black Hole sucks implosion into himself, along with some other crap laying around. The black hole shrinks and blinks out of existence with a small flash. Explosion's impossible act before set the universe off course, and this was so strange and impossible that it set the universe back on course. Many, many years later, a memorial would be built for Black Hole and his son. Okay, I need to take a second here. I seriously have no idea what the fuck just happened in this story. So let's see here. I don't think I missed a chapter. Okay, I see. So yeah, I remember the lightning hit the tree and explosion happened. I'm just trying to follow what happened here, though. Like, there was... where'd it go? They were fighting Mr. Trout, and then the battle ended. And then, let's see. Okay, so they got explosion back because... Yeah, there we go. Okay. Then, I guess explosion just kind of went off and did its own thing. And I guess they have a Denza now? I don't know. Anyway, moving back on. Okay, let me actually, let me explain something here. The person that, posted on, like, in the topic where this was actually, like, originally uploaded, like, the person the only commenter on this story was Bliss Mewy. And he asked for a cameo, and so this is where the cameo is. Bliss Mewy stood there and was hit by a truck, then died. This was the only appearance in the whole chapter, or so they thought. Anyway, the group, now including Denza, not going to add him to the image, I might later, the group, now including Denza, was walking along, and a strange cartoon world began to slowly form around them. Denza and Pokemaster Ian managed to fit in with this place quite well, so for some reason they stuck Bargo, Had, Yokronsky, Junspinar, and Small Woodland Creature, and Schmugenhugen in a big ol' bag. As they walked around, there were dots of two sizes bouncing around. Ian noticed a small dot suck in a bunch of lamps out of nowhere, then suddenly grow bigger. There were also some freaky-looking stick figure things with deformed bodies walking around. As they walked along further, there was an information booth. They went inside. There was a freaky purple thing standing at a counter. It had interesting wings and a halo thing on top of its head. Denza asked what the hell this place was. It replied, "This is the land of Jordan's imagination. Jordan is the 4-year-old brother of Jish, one of the creatures of this fic. Jish made Jordan as one of the strange creatures, but with a messed up, badly drawn mouth. Jordan then went ahead and made 4 new strange creatures. Shmih, which is the stick figure thing, Shmih-He, which is the small dot, Shmih-He, which is the big dot, and Shmih-He-Shmih, which I am one of. They stood there drooling the whole time. Ian replied with, "So, how do we get out of this place?" Shmih-He-Shmih said, "There are a few ways out of this place. You can either escape through the picture of Jordan in strangecreatures.bmp, then continued through the maze of folders, or go through Jordan's pictures in strangecreatures.bmp and simply leave the folder. There are also openings in comics 8 and 12 in comiccollection.bmp. If you go through there, you will have to go through the maze. All of these places will take you to My Documents. The escape from My Documents is difficult, so there is a secret link to Stuff through a hidden folder. Stuff is directly on the desktop. My Documents is too. Once you leave, go through the AOL shortcut, then log on to JMA1188's screen name. His password is 6 stars. Go in his favorites, into UBCS, and in the fanfiction link. In there is a link to Bargo the Bikdip. Take it, and then go back to the beginning of this chapter and wait. They did all this, which took about 3 days, and rested at the beginning of this chapter. They saw Bliss Mewy about to get hit by a truck and saved him. With Bliss Mewy traveling with them, they approached the cartoony place, threw Bliss Mewy into it, never to return, then went around. The next city was in view. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, this was just basically talking about my random, like, folder layout on my computer. Back when I used the AOL browser. Those were good days. Other than that, I don't know if I have much to say about this one. I really don't know why Jordan and Jonah are strange creatures in this. The picture of Jordan used to just have this randomly shitty, like, red mouth on it, but then I changed it to a different picture later on, so that's the context for that. Other than that, I've got nothing. Okay, so, or so they thought. BTB was a happy Bikdip. He has had many adventures and has many friends, but this is also due to his forgetfulness. Luckily for Bargo, he doesn't remember his childhood of torment. Perhaps he tried to forget it, but nonetheless, he was happy for the time being. This state of emotion contributed to many of his escapades and victories, but this would all soon change. When we return, find out what happens next on 4242. Bargo and his friends walked towards the next town, when really this was just a mirage they were all seeing from their hunger and thirst. They were really in a desert, and what they kept thinking was water would always speed away from them as fast as they ran. Gentlemen kept running into cacti, and the earlier feast on the definitely did not help. When the companions finally reached the Cactus, a local inn, only had Bargo and Schmugenhugen were left standing, and they were carrying the other passed-out companions. So the three stumbled and fell into the nice cool of the inn. They crawled to the desk, threw some money at the clerk, and went to find an empty room. They threw the passed-out ones in a corner and fell asleep on the crappy mattresses. Bargo had to fight had and eat a whole mouse before winning the privilege to get the first shower. I'm going to get a drink, so hold on a minute, because this freaking story is going to be the end of me. When the first to rise, rose, they went down to the snack bar for some breakfast. Luckily there was some water, some pop, and a little lemonade. But as Bargo noted, the 3D lemonade was far overpriced. They all got some sodas, woke the others up, and continued on. The hotel that they were in sucked Major Island. They left the hotel that sucked Major Island, and it melted into some purple sand. The purple sand that was once the hotel that sucked Major Island started swirling around, then formed into a strange creature's decks, which Schmugenhugen picked up. It started beeping, buzzing, bitching, and insert ing verb beginning with B here. After approximately 3 minutes and 32.25742245 seconds, Schmugenhugen opened it up. It said that the desert land around them was really nothings. Nothing is a new SC that is a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube. If this area contained a cactus or part of a cactus, that means it is a something, the evolved form of nothing. For some odd reason, Yakronsky felt the need to give everything it owned, not much, to one of the somethings. It then evolved into the final form, everything. Everything is quite literally everything that can fit in a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube. It always changes its contents. At one point, a hammer and nail fell out, bet you didn't see that coming, and Denza picked them up, bet you saw that coming. It hammered itself in the head and started to evolve into Captain Pringle. As everything started to slowly advance, they all ran off to the next city, Townland. Okay, let's see. Now that a giant spherical happy face was chasing after them, they were traveling fairly quickly. CP can't see anything since his eyes are always closed, but he has that huge mouth of which he used to eat with. Okay. This time it happened to be a passing Garbo. He gobbled it up and continued 5 hours later. CP actually, well, he didn't frown, but he wasn't smiling. He was beginning to be eaten from the inside out, and you can tell it wasn't pleasant. Luckily, this slowed CP down enough to give the companions a chance. They were in sight of Townland now. Unluckily, they had traveled, yes, traveled, so far, so quickly, that they ran out of breath exactly 0.00000000001 millimeters from the entrance to Townland. Townland wasn't actually a town, though. It was an amusement park. All the companions fell asleep right there, never to wake again. The companions woke up an hour later. They paid their way into the amusement park and had some fun. Luckily, they had some old costumes so they could look somewhat like humans. After a long, exciting day, they settled down in the best suite of the park's hotel. Unfortunately, some very noisy roommates were already there. CP, looking a little beat up and harassed, and after him, another Bikdip, came out of the bathroom. No one knows or wanters to know what they were doing there, so I won't tell you. I'll leave this chapter in suspense. Good to know that Brenna is reading the story in the other room, even though this is literally the stupidest thing ever. Okay, here we go. As they saw the other Bikdip and CP come out of the bathroom, they all danced. Bargo wasn't very happy about this, because it wanted to be the only Bikdip here. They started to duel. Bargo had much more experience than the other Bikdip, so it had a good advantage. They both started to roll in place and shot towards each other. The other Bikdip got stuck under Bargo and was buried into the floor. It melted and died. After all of this crud, they all apologized for running away from CP because they thought he was a Russian spy. CP said it was okay, he was chasing them because he thought they were Russian spies. Then they went on some more rides. The first thing they went on was a really big roller coaster. Ian and CP were in the front, followed by Yakronsky and SWC, Jenspanar and Bargo, with Had and Schmugenhugen in the back. It started. A millisecond after it started, the roller coaster reached a speed of 11 billion miles per hour. It immediately went through 20 loops, and there was a big climb, followed by a big drop. It went completely underwater, and just before they reached the surface, a glass coating thing covered the cars and protected them from the water. It went through the water for a few seconds, did a barrel roll, and then they all suddenly stopped. After a few seconds, they shot straight out of the water, about 50 feet up. Magnetic wheels on the top of the car stuck to another track. Because of this strange configuration, they were on the underside of the track. It went on for a few more seconds, and then they dropped onto springs, and the ride was over. After this, they all talked about it, and Schmugenhugen noticed something interesting. Under the water, he saw the next gym. Since they had to go under the water for this to work, Had, Ian, and Yakronsky had to stay behind since they couldn't swim. They went on the ride again, and their plan was to jump out of the car and land in the water just before the glass coating came up. They did it, and they all made it to the bottom of the pond and went inside the gym. The gym was sealed like Sandy's tree dome in SpongeBob. They went in a small room, drained the water, and then went into a new, much bigger, ancient Roman-looking room, and the gym leader, Toga, was perfectly ready to start the battle. Toga first declared it would be a 4-on-4 battle, including two 2-versus-2 matches. Toga sent out Jonah and 11 Alphabetinos. This was valid since they only count as one SC. Had and CP stepped up to fight them. The round begins. It goes for the smackdown, but no. A headbutt by CP sends him flying. Had cleans out a few, about 4 of the alphas, with a nice flame extrusion. Meanwhile, CP defends his reputation in a fierce lockdown with Jonah. It seems CP has him, but no. Jonah escapes just before the third slap on the mat. Oh no, what's he doing? OMG, Jonah goes for the chair. Jonah uses the chair to lay the block bottom on CP. CP's down for the count. 1, 2, 3, and CP is out of the match. On the other side, it looks like is the only Alphabetino left, and he's in a lockdown standoff with Had. What's this? Had miraculously pulls off his own head, feeds it the fire from his neck, and shoots a giant fireball at Looks like we won't be seeing any more of but wait. Had receives a massive blow to the back. You didn't expect Jonah to just stand there, did you? Had slides, but stops right before he falls over the edge. Will he have the strength to get back up? Another blow to the head by Jonah's chair. It doesn't look good for Had, but what's this? Another Had comes from behind and steals Jonah's chair. Jonah begins to cry and gets smacked so hard by his own chair that he lands in next week. It seems Had sure won this match. As Had's hologram flickers away and our previous contestants are taken off the arena, our next challengers step up for battle. In this match, on the side of the defending champion of the world, Toga, we have... Jenspanar asked how the heck Had Yakronsky and Ian got down. Ian said that Yakronsky carried Had through the water because neither wanted to miss the match. Ian simply teleported there by ways unknown. Anyway, joining Had on his side was Schmugenhugen. Toga sent out a Bleu and a Mr. Hictonimag. Had sort of slipped away into the background unnoticed, leaving Schmugenhugen to battle both at the same time. Bleh jumped forward and started whacking Schmugenhugen repeatedly with various attacks, while Mr. H&E fired sausages. Schmugenhugen withdrew into its shell and fired a weak stream of water out. It soon covered a lot of the ground and made it very slippery. Schmugenhugen was still in perfect health and was spraying out water for a very long time until there was seriously 4 feet of water everywhere. Since their attacks weren't working, Bleh picked it up and chucked it against the wall, damaging both the wall and Schmugenhugen's shell. Mr. H&E was busy scooping up water with its bucket and somehow making it disappear. It stopped doing this and jumped up, pulled out a massive key, and jammed it into the broken part of the shell. The shell shattered, and shrapnel from it flew everywhere. It hit the 2 SCs on Toga's side and damaged them, and some hit the walls and flew behind pillars. Suddenly, flaming pieces of shell shot out from behind the pillar and hit Bleh hard, knocking it out. Had was back, and with the water level a lot lower, rejoined the battle. Mr. H&E took out its judgment hammer and started swinging it at Had, and number 1 appeared above it. Had was not hurt at all, but the attack recoiled upon Mr. H&E. It tried again, and a number 8 appeared. Had was frozen. Mr. H&E rang its bell and did a victory dance. Schmugenhugen came up from behind it and fired an I-beam. Mr. H&E dodged it, and it hit Had, which melted the ice. Mr. H&E ran away to a corner and hid. Schmugenhugen shot some I-beams at it, while Had shot fireballs. It came back out, flashing, and pulled out a bucket. Oily ooze came out and hit Schmugenhugen's shellless body. Schmugenhugen was down. Had turned into a rocket and flew into the wall. It missed completely. Since the other side still had an SC left, they sent out Bargo. It used a triple I-beam on Mr. H&E, which caught it in the bucket. Had recovered and rocketed away again, toward Bargo. It picked up Bargo in midair and threw it straight at Mr. H&E. It was hit. While it was down, Had shot some more fireballs, and Bargo shot triple I-beams. Mr. H&E was down for good. They received their next badge, the Greek badge, and left the gym. After the awesome battle, they deserved a good day of relaxing at the amusement park. Everyone died. The end. JK, the companions finally got tired of the amusement park, so they left. On their way to the next town and their next badge, they spotted a rather large spotted caterpillar. Or so they thought. Dun dun dun. It was actually a robot being controlled from the inside by flames. Messy and their Mr. Gay and Crotch were hiding in the bushes. But the companions didn't know this. They threw an SC cube and caught flames in the giant caterpillar. Wait a sec. Messy saw this and was outraged. She stood up and started yelling at the companions. Bargo decided he would just eat her, but Mr. Gay and Crotch got in the way. Not the best choice on Mr. G&C's part. Bargo ate him instead, and then Messy, but then he used his digestion and crap moves. This move should probably not have been made, so don't try it at home, kids. What came out was a weird mixture of the two. It was like a black and white patterned shape of Messy with Mr. G&C's head. Everyone was surprised, but Bargo decided to let flames go. He took him out of the caterpillar, ate him, and then ate the Mr. Grass and Much. He digested and crapped them out at the same time, and this time the thing had Mr. G&C's head and hands, Flame's legs and hair, and Messy's middle and skirt. It was still just a rainbow-colored shape. The thing ran away scared of itself. Well, at least they combined their strengths, Bargo pointed out. Most SCs laughed if they got it, and so the adventure continues. I didn't get it! What the fuck was this chapter? That was the... God damn it. I'm gonna ignore that one, because here's the best chapter. Boom! A flash of lightning. Nowhere to hide. Kablamo! A giant thing fell from the sky and landed directly on Bargo. Bargo is down. Bargo took its prized possession, a spoon, and threw it forward. Save yourself, spoon! Zap! The spoon was hit by a bolt of lightning. It exploded. The ghost of the spoon remained in Bargo's heart forever. Bargo, bleeding out of 2 eyes, yelled out to his teammates, but they were long gone. He fought and fought to escape from the bottom of the giant thing. Inch by inch, he slowly escaped. Crack! Bargo's non-existent arm just broke off. A perfectly round wound was dripping blood and green crap all over the fiery ground. The fire was closing in. He only had a few more seconds before it would come. The fire was advancing, and Bargo could not escape. It was here now. The fiery fire engulfed the giant thing on Bargo, and Bargo managed to escape. The fire was burning him. Since when Bargo became a him, I don't know. He just is. Onomatopoeia! A block of ice landed in the fire and melted. The water from it was enough to put out the fire. However, the ghost from the fire combined with the ghost of the ice to create a wraith of an unimaginable power. Bargo rolled out of that place as fast as he could. Rocks were obstructing the path everywhere. The wraith was slowly advancing. Thwack! He rolled right into a rock and shot at a 45-degree angle off the ground and soared through the air. I would say he was flying, but he was really falling with style. Toy Story ripoff, just in case you didn't know. The wraith was falling behind as Bargo managed to gain speed in midair. He landed in the water nearby. Sploosh! He splashed in the water, directly onto a shark's fin. It pierced his already sore body, and almost his entire body was red with blood. The shark dived, with Bargo still stuck to it. The salty water seeped into his cuts and wounds and stung like hell. The blood attracted more sharks, and soon 20 10-foot tiger sharks surrounded him. Still underwater, he was running out of air. Swish! A sudden movement. A figure darted by. It looked oddly familiar. It was Grandpappy Bikdip to the rescue. He somehow managed to fight off all 21 sharks, but ended up dying. His ghost will live within Bargo's heart forever, just like the spoon. He swam out of the water, almost dead. From sheer exhaustion, he collapsed on the hard, cold ground. The next day, Bargo woke up with a fright. All of his wounds from the experience the day before were gone. He felt perfectly fine. A few feet ahead of him, he saw the happiest sight ever. All of his companions were waiting for him at a place he had visited in his dreams, Disney World. Do not ask, I'm warning you. He asked why they didn't help him back in that awful place. Had said, what place? We took the shortcut. To his horror, a blatantly obvious, peaceful-looking path with beautiful butterflies and flowers were right next to the awful place he was at yesterday. Poor Bargo. That was the best freaking chapter. I don't care what anyone says. But, yeah, if you haven't seen, the ending of, Bikdip's Adventure 2, there's actually a few references to this part. They mention in there that, there's stuff with the spoons, and they keep mentioning, you fought off those 21 sharks for me, and it's nobody knows what the hell you're referring to. This was it. Okay, so, moving on. So everyone except Bargo happily continued. Bargo did this unhappily. The next landmark on the map... the next lanked mark on the map happened to be Burg Townlandville. So they decided to take a rest because the town was so close. But unluckily, Bargo's non-existent toe got stubbed on a non-existent rock and it hurt like hell. This brought back memories of that fateful day and Bargo passed out. After the companions rested, they continued on to town. They noted that the gym was an old rundown school that used to be a warehouse. Creepy. They decided to check out the sights first, though. It seemed Burg Townlandville had many interesting places to go. The biggest, of course, was their giant tower. It was once the largest radio building in the West. Now it was haunted by the ghosts that live there. Creepy. Many a person or SC tried to get to the top floor, but it was said to be impossible. There was only one person to ever get to the top floor, and he died of a heart attack when he saw what was there. So of course the companions had to try. They thought that if they went in the big group, they were less likely to be attacked, or at least they wouldn't lose as many companions. That's kind of grim, okay. So they entered. The place was pretty nondescript. They took the elevator to the second to top floor, and that's when they met their first trouble. Everyone started screaming. All were seeing something different, but it was just as scary to each. Only Bargo didn't care enough to notice that they were just illusions being projected, so his hallucinations went away. On his way to the stairs, he knocked over some toxic waste that just so happened to fall on the three ghosts projecting the hallucinations. The images went away immediately. The companions just had time to see Bargo turn the corner to the stairs. They followed him and thanked him for saving them. As Bargo was ahead of the others on the stairs, he wasn't trapped in the wall when the picture swung back and took all the others away. So Bargo sadly continued on up until he reached the top floor. He looked up and saw a humongous dragon sitting on top of a giant heap of riches. The dragon roared at him, but he didn't have a stroke. He simply went up to the dragon and sat down. "So, must be pretty lonely up here," Bargo mentioned. "Oh yeah, you can hardly imagine." "I don't know, I had a pretty bad day yesterday." "Wow, sounds bad." It was. Well, it sure is great having someone to talk to. Yeah, I really feel I can tell you my feelings. Well, here, how about you take some of this gold and jewels and let's talk some more? Sounds great. So Bargo got about a third of the loot and had a nice conversation with the dragon. When it was getting late, Bargo said goodbye and took the elevator to the bottom floor. All the companions, looking a little bedraggled, were waiting there for him. So, you got to the top floor? They asked. No, but I met a friendly dragon on the way. And so Bargo left the tower feeling much better, and the companions feeling much worse. Bargo decided that it would have to go now. Was it because of his bad day? Was it because of the fact that I took too long to make a new chapter? Was it because he was dumb? No, I just felt like it. He took all the loot he got and bought a rocket, some video games, a bus, and some badly made trinkets for his companions. After a long goodbye, he blasted off in the rocket and left all of his friends behind. He may never return, but since the fic is named after him, it would be safe to assume he comes back. Also, the whole shadowy figure that left him in the country road mystery thing had to be solved. Meanwhile, the other companions decided to go to the gym. The gym leader there was Stain, and he used demented cartoon movie types. They entered the gym and noticed that it was poorly made and full of stick figures in the audience. The gym leader, Stain, randomly appeared out of nowhere and said it would be a 3-on-3 battle. He would send out 2 at once, then use his last one separately. He sent out a Boingaloing and a Fubi. To fight these, out came the rarely used Captain Pringle and Pokemaster Ian. A giant banner dropped from the sky, and it said Battle Number 473. Team DCM versus Team UBCS. As soon as the battle started, Boingaloing started muttering something. Fubi simply crashed into Ian's head, which knocked out both of them. To replace them, Yakronsky helped CP, and Zeke H. Bomb helped Boingaloing. Boingaloing got confused and attacked himself, then got smashed by a Mr. Big Shoe and fainted. It was now 2 versus 1. Zeke H. Bomb decided to make things interesting. He said, "Reflagshnet," and immediately the whole world exploded. 2 guys in a rocket flew by. One took out a black thing and rewinded time back to right before this happened. Zeke H. Bomb this time said Zeke Boogie Doog and created a nuclear explosion which killed himself and fainted Yakronsky and CP. Since all 3 on both sides were out, it was a draw. To solve this, this had to arm wrestle for the badge. Had started to move toward the table. Stain moved towards it too. They both sat down and stuck out their arms with elbows on the table. Stain made one quick movement and knocked Had's arm straight down. They lost. A rematch was arranged for exactly 1 day afterwards at the same time. Zeke Bomb was gone forever, so he would need a replacement SC. Okay, and I have to point out, right here, this is actually 1 chapter. Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen. The battle pretty much went the same until Zeke H. Bomb was supposed to fight. Instead, out came a Konor. It flew at Yakronsky and stabbed into it and killed it, but CP just smiled at it and it died. They won and got the pain badge, don't freaking ask. They left and continued on their journey. Shortest chapter ever. Here is the next one. It is also very short. After Day got the pain badge, what happened was cool and so Had said, "Where the heck is the next gym?" And everybody just sort of stood there for a while, and then Yakronsky said, "I think it's in non-existent town," and Schmugenhugen said, "Where is that?" And he said it was in the middle of a country road. So then they all started to walk for a really long time, and then they walked some more, and they just kept on walking for about 2 days, and after a while, they got to a big field place, and CP said, "Happy face, happy face, happy face, happy face, happy face, happy face." So they were all happy and crud, and Ian said, "Where's the gym?" And Yakronsky didn't know, so they sat down for a while and it came out of the ground and they went inside. Last chapter. The gym was very large and roomy. A gust blew by as the fog cleared away for the gym leader to step forward. He didn't look like your normal gym leader. He was actually quite shrewd and skinny, like an old man. He wore a dark suit and you could only see about half of him. This was due to the fact that it was also very dark in the gym. The man's face was also half hidden in shadow. Too bad Bargo wasn't there to see it. Too bad Bargo isn't here to see this. A pity, really. I was hoping to see him. I think he very dearly wished to see me as well, but he wanted revenge. I would have had to deal with that sort of behavior, and he knows it. He was always a stubborn one, Bargo. Guess that's why I left him to rot in this very field. I also guess that's why he was able to continue nonetheless. But enough of all that. You came here for a gym battle, and that's what you shall receive. My name is Giardelli, by the way. With that, he released his first SC, a black hole. To rival that, the companion let out small woodland creature. He was fresh from a long time of inactivity. The battle began, and SWC went for the fast win. He shot to Black Hole faster than the speed of sound itself, but this wasn't fast enough. Black Hole saw him and opened to him. SWC was gone forever. Next up was a wiser choice, Jun Spinar. He circled Black Hole until it was dizzy. Then he pierced the center of Black Hole and began to use the legendary Super Spin attack. This was too much for the Black Hole, and it just sort of dissipated into air. Ghirardelli sent out a Clobleron. This is one of the very rarest of all SCs, mind you. It swooped above Jun Spinar with its massive wings and titanic claws. Its very aura was enough to scare Jun Spinar stiff. Small sparkles came off Cobleron as he made the death dive. No SC ever survives it, mind you. So, well, neither did lucky Jun Spinar. So the companions, after much negotiation, let go trusty Had, who they had from the beginning. He rolled onto the arena. Though a death dive takes a lot from a Cobleron, he was recovering, but this bought just enough time for Had to shoot some well-aimed fire moves at Cobleron. His magnificent tail eventually caught fire, and he was forced to crash land from the imbalance. This is a major advantage for Had, as Coblerons don't do nearly as well on ground. But now this powerful Cobleron was severely angered. It shot its shrimp beak at Had, and he only dodged just in time. As Cobleron went shooting past, Had's head bit Cobleron's toe. This made him even angrier, and he swiped his sharp claws at Had. This time, one hit, and Had went skidding. He got up, now covered mostly in blood. As Cobleron came at him, opening its massive jaws to devour poor Had charged up and fired his largest uber beam. It hit its mark, right down Cobleron's throat. The mighty Cobleron reared up in pain and anguish, screamed, then fell to the ground. He was returned sadly to his SC cube, and out was sent... OMG, it's that evil-looking Elementino from the beginning of the fic. Apparently he was, and is, under the control of the devious Ghirardelli. He floated forward and shot an eye laser at Had. Had ate it and fired it back out of his neck, combined with the flamethrower. It went almost right through the Elementino. He seemed barely affected. Elementino started glowing a dark, gross green color. Had was slightly afraid, but decided to charge up something of his own, a famed Uber Beam. Elementino struck first. The massive energy ball was flung at defenseless Had, but just in time, Had was done as well. For some reason, this Uber Beam rivaled all other attacks in history. The evil power of Elementino's best attack was vanquished by Had's move. The rest of it obliterated Elementino, but of course every large attack comes at a price. The recoil of Had's attack was too much for him. It took its last life points as well. But since it was clear that Elementino died first, Had won the match. His limp body was lifted above the others, accompanied by a giant cheer. They were rewarded their last badge, the Evil Badge, and left the gym after what seemed like a very, very long day. So that is the end of the first Bargo the Bikdip. Keep in mind there are 2 sequels, so we're about a third of the way through. I think I'm done for today, though, because I can only take so much of this shit. Also, my throat is really kind of hurting. So, congrats to anyone who kind of stuck it out here. Like, there were parts that even I couldn't follow, so, yeah. So, final conclusions here, or final thoughts, rather. I still maintain that parts of this are pretty funny. If only because they're absolutely freaking retarded. But, it definitely could have used, like, paragraphs or grammar. And a lot of it was only funny because of how dumb it was and the fact that it made no sense. But that's kind of the point.